So this is the Kodak digital camera model C653. This camera came out in 2006. It's pretty dated now, of course, but I've got a lot of use out of this thing. The maximum picture size is 4 megapixels, which I find to be more than adequate for almost anything. That's more than enough to fill up your whole computer screen. I have a 2 gigabyte memory card in this thing, and that'll give me, at least 3,000 pictures. And I have shot thousands of pictures with this thing. It is kind of flimsy. Like almost all of these Asian-built digital cameras, the battery door has broken. Now, I hold the battery door on with just a piece of electrical tape. I find electrical tape to be a lot better than any other kind of tape. I've seen people use, transparent Scotch tape and or paper tape, or like some of these like medical tape. And those things tend to shred and rip and stick and dry out and leave residue. This kind of tape is so nice because this rubberized tape is so nice because you can just peel it off and it doesn't leave any residue. You can see the hinge is broken here. I can just pop it back on, and this tape, I can stick it back down, and this will re-stick many times. Probably 10 or 15 times I'll be able to just re-stick it before I have to replace it. Now Kodak, it did make a kind of a proprietary battery. This is 2 AA batteries in one little plastic container there. This little package contains 2 nickel metal hydride batteries. And of course they just pop right in there. But now, if you haven't already figured this out, it's nothing but 2 nickel metal hydride batteries. So if this battery fails, you just buy 2 nickel metal hydride batteries. It'll also run on alkaline batteries, but of course those will run out of juice eventually. These you can just keep recharging and recharging. I have had intermittent problems with this camera over the years. Problems where it just wouldn't turn on. You'd turn the dial here. Nothing would happen. It wouldn't come on. You put new batteries in it, it still wouldn't come on. I concluded that there must be problems with electrical connections. Voltage drops. So where might that happen? Well, of course, here in the battery. Where the batteries connect, of course, you might develop some oxidation on these terminals, either here or on the inside in here. Another place where we might be having problems with metal contacts is this wheel here, this master control. There are metal contacts that slide over a surface. Everything's made of copper, and possibly we're developing some oxidation. So what I've found is that if I really clean those surfaces, I can correct a lot of the problems that this camera develops. Now, in order to do that, we have to take the camera apart, and we will go through that procedure now. Now, to disassemble this camera, we start by removing the battery door. Remove the batteries. And remove a memory card if there's one present. Now the back cover is held on by 5 screws, 2 on this side, 2 on the bottom, and 1 on this side. You'll need a small Phillips head screwdriver, like a size 0. Now you can get these cheap screwdriver kits almost anywhere. Boy, I think this was like $1 or $2 for that whole set. These really come in handy. Everybody should have one. And before you pull it apart, notice there's a little post in here. That post is going to fall out, so be careful, keep an eye on it. That post is what holds on your strap. Okay, that's going to disappear if you're not careful. And we'll just work our way around and we'll remove all these little screws. Okay, we pulled out these 5 little screws. I'm going to be careful not to lose them, they're very tiny. I like to use these old pill bottles to hold these little screws and things so I don't lose them. Remember to be careful about that guy. Okay. Good. I'm going to go ahead and take out that little. There he goes. Just fell right out. Really easy to lose that thing. It looks about like a pencil lead. Okay. So with the back off, we've now partially exposed the insides of the camera. We'll now have to remove the rest of this somehow. So another screw here to remove. This, of course, was not visible until the rest of this was removed, as you see. Okay, so we'll remove this screw now. Now with that screw taken out, maybe this side, pry that just a little bit. There we go. And out it comes. Okay. Now we have the insides exposed. Now, where could we possibly be losing voltage? Well, now here we have a contact surface here. This is where this selector makes contact. There are 2 little contacts here, which make contact here. Could it be that we're losing contact here somewhere, somehow? It's kind of worn a groove in there, hasn't it? Maybe we could polish that surface. Then the batteries themselves, this is the lower end of where the batteries would go. Perhaps we could polish those surfaces a bit. And the other side of the battery goes here. We could maybe polish these surfaces a bit. Now, one thing I must warn you about this device here, just to the side of the camera lens. This is a big capacitor. It holds a lot of voltage. And right here are the terminals. Now, I once made the mistake of basically putting my thumb down on this thing while it was charged, and it about threw me across the room. I removed the batteries from this like 2 days ago to completely discharge this capacitor so that that wouldn't happen again. This capacitor supplies the power to your flash. You need a great deal of current for like a millisecond, to fire that flash. And that power is stored in this capacitor. And of course, the capacitor can discharge very rapidly. I took the batteries out of this thing 2 days ago. Let's see how much voltage we still have on this darn thing. Oh my goodness. I've got it on the 50-volt setting. That darn capacitor still has 40 volts in it. Now 40 volts isn't going to knock us over, but I mean, 2 days ago it had several hundred volts in it. So that thing, be real careful of that guy. To help remove oxidation on those various contacts, I'm going to be using some fine grit rubbing compound and some 600 grit sandpaper. Now this is the battery door here. I cut off a little tiny piece of that 600 grit sandpaper. And I'm just going to sort of polish those contact surfaces a little bit. And maybe I can get a little bit better contact. Doesn't take much just to get that oxide off the surface. It builds up slowly over time. And on the other side, again, just a for this surface, I'm going to use this fine grit rubbing compound. That should polish it up. All it takes is a tiny drop on a rag. That's more than enough. Puts a nice shine on it. Now, the reason I'm doing this is to remove any oxidation which does sap the voltage. You're going to get a voltage drop. So you want to remove it all when you're done. Now, one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bend these just a little bit more. These little metal contacts, I'm going to bend these just a bit so that they will press a little bit harder. Over time, these things will kind of relax. Just put a little bit more of a bend on that so it'll push a little bit harder. Hopefully that'll give us a better contact. I really suspect that it's losing voltage here. Okay, now that's back in, and we've got to put that one screw back in here. Before we put it back on, we've got to put this screw back in right there. And then we've got this tiny little post that is so easy to lose. This guy right here. Now, okay, now we put this guy back on here. we have our 5 little screws to put around, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll drop in our nickel metal hydrides. Isn't that nice? It appears to be working. Great. Every couple of years, my camera starts acting up, and I repeat this procedure of polishing those surfaces, and that seems to fix it. So if you have one of these Kodak cameras and you're having problems, particularly with this little control wheel here, it's possible you've got the same problem that I do, and polishing those surfaces may fix it for you too. Thanks for watching.